as good as I remember it in Queens, honestly. And this is gonna be pretty tough to top. I mean, it's a legendary place.
Oh, but we have so much more food to
We
try.
have so much more food to try too. This is downtown Brooklyn. This isn't the tourist hub that Chelsea is right next to the High Line, or Time Out New York Market is right next to the Brooklyn Bridge. Those markets always mobbed, especially when it's not COVID-19. You come here, I think you're gonna find the unexpected, a lot less people, and you can still get the same quality of food. And then you can explore downtown Brooklyn after as well.
And that's actually a really good point, because as you come straight off the Manhattan Bridge, you literally just keep walking straight down Flatbush Avenue. So if you want to tackle the Manhattan Bridge, which is something that as a local, I personally recommend, because again, it's really hard to see the Brooklyn Bridge when you're on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Now we're gonna try a spot called Pierogi Boys, and I was looking at the ratings online of most of the spots in here, and Pierogi Boys had some of the highest ratings in the entire market. Now, I've eaten at Veselka before. I've eaten at a little place called Streech in the East Village. I'm really picky about pierogies, so I'm excited to try this. Have you already eaten one while I was talking?
No, I
was like, no, go for it.
I was actually trying to get the meat out, and like honestly, like it literally punches you right in the face with the flavor. So like, you know what? I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm gonna let you get in there.
All right, let me try. It's in your face, all right, wow.
In a good way.
In a good way, like very flavorful, and you get a lot of meat too. That's what I think is so good about these pierogies. You're just like stuffed with meat. I think I know what was weighing down my arms so much. It was all the meat that was inside of this.
So check out the dill that's on here, and when you bring your nose close to that, you get that whiff of like the meat and the dill and everything together. Like, let me tell you this, I don't care what anybody's wearing. If you wore a perfume that was like this, I wouldn't be single anymore. I'd just be ready to propose marriage to the
Take
first
notes,
person.
ladies. He's single.
So right now we have your traditional Jamaican beef patty, all right? It's absolutely perfect. So you're gonna have a really good time with this. Now, what you have on the outside is something called cocoa bread.
Okay, so you insisted that I get this with an extra bit of bread.
Yeah, so
Why did you push me to get the cocoa bread on top? Not that I'm arguing, but
so the reason why is because growing up, I went to high school, and all of our people who were working in our cafeteria were always from the Caribbean. So I felt connected to my culture, and every time I got a beef patty and it didn't have the cocoa bread, they literally would yell at me. So once I started putting it on there, it's something that you just have to do. It's, in my opinion, a very mild bread, but it goes ahead and it actually fills out having the patty to make it more of a complete meal. Where like once you have a patty with some cocoa bread on it, you're gonna leave feeling like you're ready to tackle the day.
or take a nap, one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, it is gonna be a little bit of a carbo overload, but trust me, carbo overloads are good in this situation.
What's carb overload?
Show it up.
What's carb overload, guys? Check that out. Cocoa bread on top of a Jamaican beef patty. I've had beef patties before. Never had cocoa bread with it though.
Just get in there. Oh yeah, big bite.
It sneaks up on you because you eat the bread first, then you get the salty flavor explosion of the beef patty.
And it's got a little bit of a kick on the back end. It's not an overwhelming heat. It's just like something that's just nice to complement the flavor.
This is excellent. Last but certainly not least for the tasting is the mini donuts. We loved the owner of that spot. Evan, he's like your best friend now.
It was one where I had my credit card out and I was just ready to be like, you know what, I'll just take the entire stand. So like, now I'm curious to see what the normal varieties are like, just because if the alcohol was that good, let's see what he specializes in.
So I got the funnel cake, and I grew up in Jersey. This is a Jersey Shore specialty, so it got me excited. And what'd you get?
I got the Nutella s'more because, I mean, who doesn't love s'mores and who doesn't love Nutella? And then you put that on a donut. This sounds like heaven.
All right, let's do it. I could eat 100 of these things.
Yeah, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna go buy that stand up
I'm
real
taking
quick.
some to go. I'm taking some for Adriana. These are so, I just want to use the word perfect maybe, because you just take 2 bites, disappears.
I
just
think-
that beautiful sweet flavor.
this doesn't compare to it, but just to give your viewers, because I know they're from around the country and around the world, some frame of reference, it has the pillowy consistency of a Krispy Kreme with the flavor punch of your local donut shop, all in one small bite. Like this, to your point, is the absolute perfect donut, but the dough itself is flavored, the toppings are great. Like this is what you want when you start to have sweetness, where it's not overwhelmingly sweet, but it does leave you very satisfied.
And this, guys, is why he needs his own food channel. I couldn't say that. I'm just like, perfect.
Every other video, this reminds me of this food from the Philippines, right?
I know, right? But
if it doesn't,
this one doesn't really remind me of anything. So
okay.
It's funny because it reminds me of a food in the Philippines. They call it empanada.
Everything reminds Ben of something from the Philippines, we know.
You should probably Google something like empanada.
How big of a nap are you going to take after all this? Like, I don't think dinner's happening, and breakfast tomorrow is looking questionable too.
Well, frankly, I have a chicken marinating in the fridge right now that it has to get cooked tonight. So I don't really have much of a choice but to have dinner as well. So.
Today we're getting a first look at New York's hottest new attraction, the new wing of the Museum of Natural History, the Richard Gilder Center. The $456 million expansion is going to be the perfect spot for families, tourists, and anybody who wants to explore. Let's find out if this is worth visiting in 2023. The Gilder Center for Science, Innovation, and Education is opening today, and it's a 230,000 square foot building on the western side of the museum, adjacent to Central Park. Admission if you live in New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut, pay what you wish. $28 if you are not from the area. Highly recommend you pre-book the extras that we're gonna show you later if you're interested in them. This is the Kenneth C. Griffin Exploration Atrium, and this is the crown jewel of the Gilder Center. It's what you see in all the photos. You get a ton of natural light in here because of the large-scale skylights, the texture, color, flowing forms of this atrium, all inspired by canyons in the southwestern United States, and you really get that vibe as you walk through. You know, how many museums can you think of that builds this kind of a seating area where you could just sit and marvel at this, at the canyon-looking elements? I love the skylights too. It's a really nice touch. And when you look from the outside, I don't know, I get this Gaudi-esque vibe for anyone who's ever been to any of his works in Barcelona. This is also going to be an extremely Instagrammable museum. All these little nooks and crannies you can find to sit and hang out. I'm absolutely in love with the interior and exterior here. The Davis Family Butterfly Vivarium. There is extra admission to this, and there's over 1,000 different free-flying butterflies all around here. Like, they're everywhere, even up on the ceiling. And you literally can't avoid the butterflies here. They're all around you. They will even fly on top of you. I've never been to an indoor exhibit quite like this one before. They made this environment perfect for butterflies. It feels like it's 80 degrees and humid right now. You can see the trees even dripping water. If you're quick enough, you can even identify which butterfly is coming up to you. Over 80 species are out every single day. So this is a special type of water, you said?
No, just sugar water. Others you'll see with fruit in the bins.
They arrive from Costa Rica. There's a shipment just arrived from Ecuador. We unpack them and we hang them, and the butterflies emerge here. Butterflies make a chrysalis and moths make a cocoon, which is the silky cover around their chrysalis.
You see almost every stage of the butterflies here, because they were telling me that they're now in the stage right before they become adults. They let them hang here, and when they're ready, they actually pop out. Like this one here literally just popped out today. And I learned a sad fact. Butterfly adults don't live maximum past 6 or 7 months. I actually never knew. So come enjoy them during their, I would say, relatively short lifespan. Make sure you don't bring any hitchhikers. The Susan and Peter J. Solomon Insectarium, open to the public, no extra admission, and you can spot 18 species of live insects, honeypot ants, hissing cockroaches. If that's your thing, wait, I hear something. I hear something. Okay, if you're afraid of bees, you are gonna not enjoy this. This is what it's like to be inside of a beehive. Well, let's be a bee. All right, we can actually compose our own insect chorus. Day, night. All right, I wanna go back to my childhood, cicadas. It's like this is the sound of summer when you go to sleep at night. You even hear the New York City sirens. Oh, we can play them all at once. literally is an orchestra. Oh, that's the worst sound, the mosquito. No thank you. Fun fact of the day, insects outnumber humans over 1 billion to 1. So the next time a mosquito bites you, just remember you are really outnumbered. You're gonna hear me saying this over and over during the video, but I think this is a great destination for families with children. If you are into insects, you are gonna love the Insectarium. If you're not, well, at least I think you'll learn a lot of cool facts. I am so hungry right now. Look at all these options we got here. Chorizo chili, jalapeno lime cheddar chicken. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and I've worked with them in the past, so you know I'm already a fan. Having an infant at home for Adriana and I, sometimes what to eat for lunch or dinner is the last thing on our minds, and cooking with all the preparation and going grocery shopping or even going out to eat can just be so much work. And that's where Factor comes in. So if you're too busy to cook this May with Factor, skip that trip to the grocery store, skip the chopping, prepping, cleaning up. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals ready in just 2 minutes. All you have to do is heat, enjoy, then get back outside, enjoy that warm, fresh weather, or in my case, go back to filming. It's also a great way to help pad your budget. It is cheaper than takeout and faster than restaurant delivery. Remember, 2 minutes.
As a mom, I'll take anything that saves me time, and if it's delicious, it's even better.
Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use our promo code HEREBAR50 for 50% off your first Factor box. That's factor75.com, HEREBAR50 for 50% off your first Factor box. All right, this is gonna put the Van Gogh exhibits to shame. This is a 12-minute looping experience. Remember, this does cost extra. You gotta book it in advance. Feels like I'm about to walk into one of those observation decks right now.
The whole story is about how all life is connected, so enjoy.
How all life is connected. Wow. I am immersed in life. This is gonna keep changing, get ready.
All living beings communicate.
The entire room is immersive here, everything. There is no bad seat in the house. Always exit through the gift shop. You know what? I think this is the future of attractions in the world. It's not just sitting in a movie theater. No, you are walking around, you're being immersed in whatever it is you're watching. And there you are immersed in a really good science show, which is totally worth the price of admission. You know, just as a piece of architecture, the Gilder Center is breathtaking. Really, really nice. It feels like I'm rock climbing in Utah. The research library on the 4th floor is open to the public, and they have more than 500,000 volumes and extensive collections of rare and unique natural science books, archives, photographs, moving images, art, a whole lot more. This is definitely a place that I can get behind. Need a little breather, long day of sightseeing, sit here, enjoy the views. It almost has an Alice in Wonderland feel to this room. Because the museum has millions of different objects, 3,000 of them are actually available on different floors as part of the collections. So you can see things like dinosaur fossils, camera equipment, anything to do with natural earth, science, all over, all included in your cost of admission. I find it fascinating that you have scientists working here every day. They're even in the background doing stuff as you browse. They're working, bringing it to life for you. They are literally lining up. The museum this is opening up to the public in 18 minutes. I should just like circle in and be the first tourist to go. I want to remind everybody that there's a lot more to the Museum of Natural History than just the Gilder Center. You could spend the whole day roaming all the exhibits. I absolutely think this is worth it if you need to do just one museum for your whole trip and you have a family. This has got to be near the top of your list. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm so happy we got to explore it. What's up, members of the barrio? It's John coming to you from Pier 86 in Manhattan, and today we're going to be exploring one of the most famous sites in the entire city, the Intrepid Museum. This spot has airplanes, it has a space shuttle, even has a submarine. We're gonna find out if it's worth visiting or not.
Hey guys, I'm Dylan. I'm an educator here at the Intrepid Sea, Air and Space Museum, and we're gonna take a nice tour of the complex today. There's plenty to see with John.
Now we've just stepped onto the ship, and this is very different than your typical museum in New York City. This is living history all around you. I'm such a big history person, so I'm so excited to start this tour.
So welcome on board, guys. We're currently right now on the ship on board the former USS Intrepid. The ship served the United States Navy for 31 years, from 1943 to 1974. And if you notice one thing when you step on board, it is that the ship is massive. So when we want to talk about features of the ship, we have to use models. We shrink the ship down and we can point things out. It served exclusively in the Pacific and then went on to have many, many years of service beyond that, doing many different things.
There are approximately 30 different planes all over the Intrepid, so if you're an aviation geek, you are going to be in heaven here.
Behind me is our Grumman Avenger. This is the only aircraft that we have in our collection that served during the Second World War. The Avenger was a torpedo bomber. The torpedo bombers generally occupy a kind of unique position in aviation history. During the Second World War is arguably the only time that they were actually effective in use against an enemy combatant. Beneath the Avenger, you can see the torpedo that it carried. It was almost 2,000 pounds, quite heavy. And in order to deliver that torpedo into the side of an enemy ship, the pilots had to have nerves of steel. They had to fly very low to the waterline. They were very close to the enemy who were going to be shooting at them. And they had to fly very precisely to accurately deliver the torpedo. But another morale booster that the men had was the scorecard that they painted onto the ship during World War II, showing the success that the pilots had against the enemy, as well as the gunners on board the ship protecting it from enemy aircraft.
How many museums give you this type of exercise where you're just going right up towards the deck, which is the most iconic part of the ship? Because, well, you'll see. Is this actually how the Combat Information Center was set up in the 1940s?
To the best of our knowledge, we used photographs and things like that. The ship, when it was decommissioned in 1974, they took a lot of pieces out of it, obviously. So we try to recreate things, and some things were left in situ, as we say. But yes, this is what the Combat Information Center looked like for the men who worked on it when the ship was in service.
We made it to the deck. This is the most iconic, the most famous part of this ship. What can you say about it?
So yeah, this is the flight deck. This is what makes an aircraft carrier an aircraft carrier. This is the airport part of the ship. It's almost 900 feet long, and this is where we store the heart of our aircraft collection, which you can see all around you behind me. So this massive aircraft behind me is our F-14 Tomcat. If you're familiar with the movie Top Gun, this is the aircraft that they were flying in the movie. The F-14 was used by the Navy for almost 3 decades, from the late 70s into the early 2000s, and was really the workhorse of the fleet.
Another really neat fact about the Intrepid is up here, you don't just see planes used by the US. We have an Israeli warplane here used in the Yom Kippur War. I saw an Italian plane over there. It's just like a shrine to aviation. So if this is your thing, you're gonna love it here. I'm thoroughly enjoying this tour so far. Now, you mentioned how this is not just a museum, this is actually a living battlefield, and there were actually kamikaze planes that landed on this very deck we're standing on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was talking about the scorecard earlier. The sailors were, they wanted to see their contribution to the war effort because they were simultaneously watching their friends and their colleagues die when the ship was in combat. Intrepid was hit by a torpedo, was repaired, came back, and then over the course of the remainder of the war was hit by 4 separate kamikaze aircraft. On November 25th of 1944, the ship was hit by 2 planes within 10 minutes of each other, roughly in the vicinity that we're standing in right now. And this is the captain's chair. We can't sit in it. It's pine glass. We're protecting it. The captain sat here, the commanding officer of the vessel. He would have been a pilot at some point in his career, an experienced pilot in order to command an aircraft carrier, and he's very focused on air operations. When the aircraft are taking off, he sits here, he can see them taking off forward, and if he needs to see the landings, he can use the big rear view mirror that's to the left to watch them land. So I said at the very beginning that we're here at the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. A lot of people don't make the automatic connection to space since we're on board an aircraft carrier that served during World War II. In 2012, as NASA was deciding where to put their retired space shuttles, we were lucky enough to receive Space Shuttle Enterprise. When it arrived here via barge, we craned it up to where we're about to see it, and we built the Space Shuttle Pavilion around it to exhibit it to you guys when you visit. So we see Enterprise here behind me. Enterprise is a prototype. That means that of the shuttle fleet, it is the only shuttle that did not go to space. In terms of size and scale and what we're looking at, it is almost identical to all of the other shuttles. It's missing a few of the key components that would have made it space-worthy. This includes the heat shield, the tiles that are so famous for protecting the shuttle when it re-enters the atmosphere. All of the infrastructure for the engines is not there. It's simulated by lead weights, and it's missing a lot of the critical components up here in the flight deck, the avionics for the shuttle. Enterprise paved the way for the space-worthy shuttles by proving the concept for the space shuttle program, and without it, who knows if any of the other shuttles would have ever gone to space.
This was actually in space with the Russians. It came down in 2005. It's a re-entry module. So unlike the Enterprise, which was, as he mentioned, just used for training and as a prototype, this was actually in space. Not only does the Intrepid have military and space history, but we're standing in front of the Concorde. We're going to show you some commercial airlines history.
Yes, there's only 18 Concordes around the world, and we are lucky enough to have Alpha Delta. This is the true workhorse of the Concorde fleet. Flew about 10,000 flights, and it holds the record for the fastest time across the Atlantic Ocean, making it from New York to London in 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 59 seconds.
By the way, guys, you must book a tour to get on the Concorde. Can't just come from the general public. Little note. So guys, this went out of commission in 2003, and as you can see, this would probably be like today's Economy Plus. I mean, this isn't a bed. You weren't paying for that kind of comfort. You were paying to go across the Atlantic as quickly as possible. So, you know, a little footroom, not horrible. I think it's totally worth paying extra to come in here. Seriously, guys, if you like flying at all.
Hey everyone, so I mentioned before there's plenty to see here at the museum. Behind me is our submarine, the former USS Growler. The submarine served during the height of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union from 1958 to 1964, and its sole purpose was to carry nuclear weapons in case they had to ever use them. Thankfully that was not the case, and you can come and see this vital part of Cold War history here at the museum today.
Alright guys, we are about to enter a Cold War nuclear submarine. Living inside a tiny Manhattan apartment, I don't feel so bad anymore. Look at these bunks here. So this kitchen area is really nice. You have checkerboards. Feels like we're back in the 1960s. I also like that we saw a Russian map in the navigation room. You know who they were looking for. This reminds me of some trains I've seen before, like double, triple decker sleeper trains in Europe. Today we're eating our way through New York City's newest food hall, The Hue, with 15 restaurants and bars and cuisine from all over the world. It's just a 20-minute walk from Times Square. Is it worth visiting? Let's find out. All right, my first impressions are this is a museum that just happens to have a food hall. I absolutely love the calming aesthetic here. So many choices to work with. We're gonna do some Pakistani food to begin. Thank you. Because it's been such a cold winter, having all these amazing food options under one roof, it's like foodie heaven. I got 4 of their signature lamb chops, just coated with cumin, coriander, Pakistani spices. So you know this is gonna have quite a kick to it. I'm just salivating looking at this thing, guys. Oh, it smells so good too. You know, if you're into lamb chops with a little Pakistani flair, some spicy kick to it, you gotta try this. These are not your average lamb chops. This isn't something you normally order at a food market. This is something I would typically order at a higher end restaurant. I'm getting a kick out of this. We're off to a heck of a start. Oh.
Look at those juices. Ooh. My mouth is watering already. Has so many flavors going on. I never had a burger like this. This is so good. And the meat is so tender. I love everything about this burger, I swear.
It's so juicy, wow. Then you add the mint chutney to this. Like, it's definitely adding a lot of flavor and spice to a burger that I'm not really used to. I'm certainly happy about. This is what I love about food markets is everybody can be happy and you can try so many different places in one day. These are so good that I just want to eat them until all I've got left is bone. People are always asking me what's something you should do on a rainy day, and today it's rainy, it's cold, it's windy. I always say go to a food hall, and New York's got plenty of them.
Mukbar is a Korean ramen shop, and we are known for our classic ramen and our kimchi ramen.
Soju highball cocktail. I mean, it's like 3 o'clock on a Friday. How could you say no to that? My mouth just continues to water the entire time we film this video. Look at these little bulgogi buns. Mozzarella cheese, caramelized kimchi jam. It already sold itself before I even took a bite, but here we go. It's so savory. Oh, just like a party in my mouth. They're doing things with bulgogi that I've never tried before. I'm usually pretty traditional with my Korean food taste, but this takes it up another level, no joke.
This is an explosion of flavors in your mouth. Like, you get one flavor first, and you get the other, and then you get all together. The bun is super soft. I'm in love with this.
You pour the broth yourself for the ramen. That way you know the noodles aren't going to be soggy.
So delicious, so good.
Fun fact about Adriana, she's obsessed with Korean food.
When you're with a bunch of friends, sometimes it's hard for you to decide what you want to eat. Like, some people want one thing, some people want other thing. It takes forever. If you come to a place like this, there's always an option for everyone.
This is like Lady and the Tramp, where we meet in the middle with our ramen instead of spaghetti.
Couples that eat ramen together stay together.
This is basically food from Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana. So you have like a different combination of items with the rice. You have the stews, you have the black pea stew, and you also do have like salad bowls that you can mix with the rice. As protein, we do have chicken, we have regular grilled chicken, and we do have also chicken suya, which is like a little bit spicy.
First time ever in channel history, we are showcasing West African food. I've never even had West African food before. It's like a milky, sweet drink.
Baobab tree. It can live up to 100 years.
I'm being educated on food. I love this. Love it. West African salmon. It has a really tangy sauce on top. But I have to say that this is probably the healthiest thing that we're eating the entire day here. Maybe one of your healthiest choices. They call it, African superfood. Because for one, it's a mixture from Ghana, Senegal, and Nigeria, but also got your veggies, got your grains, black-eyed pea salad. There's nothing boring about this meal right here. Not only is it super healthy, but all the different flavors and spices is actually making me want to expand my horizons and travel a little bit more. Like medium, maybe.
you the hot one. I want to see you try.
Careful.
Be careful.
Like tiny bit.
I don't want you to look like your shirt.
Tiny.
Oh my god.
How you feeling, Adriana? You're nervous for me? Put a tiny amount of the hot sauce on. Am I gonna turn the color of my shirt? Ooh. Yeah, it's there. And they also have their original location in Harlem. And I was saying before about these spots is a lot of these markets, you know, the original is somewhere else, and you can try a lot of really famous restaurants under one roof, like we're doing right now. Bring a couple friends to the market. Everybody gets a dish from a different country, put it on the table, and share it. Expand your horizons. Remember when I walked in, I said this looks like a museum that has a food hall? The School of Visual Arts actually has an art display on the second floor, and you can sit here and stare at this lovely fork and spoon display. This exhibit here is all stuff from 1977 and 1978. Donut's heavy. I got the old fashioned. This is a cake donut with vanilla on top. Whoa, 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 you just took the top? Could you just show people what you did?
I love this so much. Everything in this market is so good. Cream inside.
Just when you thought it was an amazing donut, it just blew your mind with some cream inside, which you didn't even see. I haven't even tried mine yet.
Best donut ever.
Really? Best donut you've had in your entire life? I gotta try this. What I like about this donut is it doesn't have an intense amount of sugar. It's just right. I kind of wish I could just dunk this in a cup of coffee right now. That would have actually made this perfect. We visited just 4 of the 15 different spots, but the Hue answers that problem in the Midtown area. You don't know where to eat. You want to try a lot of different stuff with your friends, your family. Stop by. You will not regret it. Today, we're going to become the first YouTubers ever to visit every single New York City observation deck in one day and answer the question, which one is best for you? We've got One World Observatory, opened in 2015. Tickets start $43, and its claim to fame is it's in the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, 1,776 feet high at the top. You can get to floor 102, 1,268 feet above the city. Got our tickets on our phones, ready to rock. It's the best advice I can give you about any observation deck in New York City. Pre-buy your tickets. You're gonna be spending enough time in lines. This is, in my opinion, the coolest part about One World.
Welcome to One World Observatory.
We just saw the history of New York City in about 60 seconds as we went up. So what really makes One World unique is it is the only observatory that is completely indoors. So on a freezing cold day, this is probably where I would tell you to go. And you see the Statue of Liberty right there. You have an unobstructed view of the entire region from up here, 360 degrees. You also have the bragging rights of saying you are in the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. I'm so used to seeing the Brooklyn and the Manhattan bridges from street level that seeing it from up here actually is really, really cool. New York City, it looks like a Lego set from this vantage point. This is where everybody is.
Yeah. Staying ahead of trends is a thing of beauty with American Express Business Gold. Earn 4 times points on your top 2 eligible spending categories each month.
You know, as soon as I'm mayor, I'm gonna fire you. And you, Petey, as soon as I'm mayor, you're gonna try to sleep with me, but I won't let you. Larissa, I don't have time for this. There's a rumor swirling about me, and I gotta squash it. My jaw hurts because I ate a big sandwich, and not any other jaw-related activity.
It's grouped together, that straight line shot of Midtown Manhattan. And I can even see our next stop, the Edge, straight that way. You could plot out the entire video from up here. It's basically boom, 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 boom. Great view of New Jersey this way. And as someone who's from New Jersey, I understand most people are not looking here. For somebody that wants an entire lay of the land of New York City, there is no observation deck that's going to be better than One World. On a personal note, it is not one of my favorites because I like to be outdoors for this sort of experience. But for people who are big into architecture and wanting to see everything, this is tough to beat. I'm pretty sure out in the distance there, we can even see Pennsylvania. Whoa.
Thank you for visiting One World Observatory.
We've got to hustle. We've got an 11 a.m. entry to the Edge. This is the only observation deck located inside of a mall. We're going to the most unaffordable neighborhood in the city, Hudson Yards. All right, take two. We walked into an office building next door. Even I make mistakes. We're in a rush. So apparently we weren't the only people with the smart idea of coming to the Edge on a beautiful December day. The Edge opened 2020, $38 for admission. You go to the 100th floor, you are 1,131 feet high, tallest outdoor observation deck in the Western Hemisphere. This whole line is like one big advertisement for Hudson Yards. We are outdoors for the first time in this observation deck challenge. You know, something that makes the Edge very unique is the angled glass, which I recall when I made my first video about this place, people said they were getting nervous looking at me even leaning on this. If you are afraid of heights, this is not the observation deck for you. You know, if you're afraid of heights, what are you doing on an observation deck anyway? I feel like there's an observation deck arms race right now, and last year Edge opened up something called City Climb, which we decided not to do because Ben is afraid of heights and I just didn't want to do it. $185, and you go 1,271 feet above the city. Actually, that is the highest outdoor perspective you can get in New York unless you're in a helicopter. So if you're someone that wants that photo and you want to spend about 200 bucks, go for it. I don't want to wait in an extra line, but there is a line to take a picture at the edge of the Edge. And we did it when this place first opened, if you want to see that perspective. But this is a very popular attraction, super popular. Expect long lines everywhere. All right, if any more people go on the glass floor here, I'm afraid it's gonna break. This is actually my favorite spot of all of the Edge. A little elevated to see Lower Manhattan. Now, just a note, Edge actually can close their outdoor sky deck due to adverse weather conditions or if it's super windy. So worst case, you might just get this view, which isn't so bad, but just be warned about that. Maybe New York's most expensive glass of wine, $25 here. Little insider tip, 101st floor has an elevator with a much shorter line. 2 down, 3 more to go. Personal opinion, I think the Edge is great, but it is not one of my favorites, mostly because it's just so far away from the other buildings, and it's also a little bit on the smaller side, so you do feel kind of packed in, but it is peak tourist season, so some people love that outdoor observation deck with the angled glass. For me, not one of my favorites. Summit One Vanderbilt. This is the newest observation deck in New York City, opened last year. You get to the 92nd floor, 1,063 feet above the city. If you want to add the ascent elevator, you get 1,210 feet above the city, or the 101st floor. This is by far the most popular observation deck in New York City right now. This is the one you need to book at least a day or two in advance. We're officially starting something called the Observation Deck Challenge, 5 in 1 day. No, actually, I don't recommend you do this because we are spending probably as much time in line today as we are at the observation decks. So this is just a little challenge to show you all the pros and cons of each observation deck. I do not recommend you do this. All right, we're starting our immersive experience at Summit. You'll see why you need these in a minute. Is it me or all of the observation decks have this dark tunnel thing going on?
This is a one-way experience. That means take your time on each level because you cannot go back down to previous levels.
I love this elevator. It's a little packed, but I like it.
Okay, everyone. Right this way. Your journey starts here. I hope you enjoy.
After One World Observatory, that's my next favorite elevator ride with the mirrors everywhere, and you are just thrust into this experience. Putting on the shades. All right. Whew. It still trips me out to this day, this place. I love it though. We were here before it opened to the public, and I got a chance to talk with Kenzo Digital, who designed this, and he explained to me how the mirrors were supposed to be an experience where you transcend, and depending on what time of day you come and the weather conditions, it's always different. So if it's sunny, you're gonna get different reflections. If it's cloudy, if it's raining, if it's night, that was what he went for, and I think he hit an absolute home run here. It still trips me out to look down, and you see people down there, and then there's a second floor, they're up there, and there are reflections on the ceiling. While the majority of summits indoors, they have by far the best view of the Empire State Building and of Midtown Manhattan. I don't know if you get better views at any other observation deck than here, if that's what your goal is for photography, but it is gonna be against glass, keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Time to be an influencer. Is this how influencers pose? I don't know. I'm influencing you guys. Influencing you on not to do this in one day. So this room's called Reflect, and they changed the vibe. It's a lot cooler in here, temperature-wise. And this is an art piece by Kusama of cloud-like objects reflecting. A little breather till we go to what might be the coolest room in New York City. I don't know if this is being followed, but you know, a lot of people don't realize that if you go past the balloons, the view outside is not bad at all. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It was not me. This may be New York City's best bathroom view. Can you imagine how much this bathroom would rent for if it was on the open market with wraparound views like this? All right, so this is Levitation. We did this when it first opened, and I think it's absolutely fantastic to have the option, you don't have to do it, of standing out over a ledge looking at the city. Now there is a bit of a line for it, but because we're on a tight timeline today, we can't wait in line for this.
Your face in the clouds in there.
Cool. That one? That's me? Yep, that's me. That's a good looking cloud right there. That's a very good looking cloud. So crazy as it sounds, I actually think the outside is the least interesting thing of Summit.
In a land full of sunshine, you follow a different clock. From the rush of exploring to the serenity of relaxation, everything shines a little brighter. Colorado, come to life.
And it's still an amazing view. For an extra $20, you can do the Ascent elevator to get to the 101st floor. Now, after making my Summit video, I did get some of my viewers who didn't think it was worth the extra money. The reason we're not doing it today is because there is a wait time to board, and again, we are on a tight schedule to get in all 5 observation decks, but if it's something you want to do, we have footage of it. It's interesting. If you have a lot of time, you should consider adding it. Every single observation deck has its pros and cons. My personal favorite is Summit 1 Vanderbilt because it's completely immersive, and I don't think any other observation deck in the world could give you this experience. So if you are into immersive exhibits like this with amazing views, Summit will be my #1 choice. We've got 20 minutes till we have to be at Top of the Rock, and I thought of the perfect spot for a quick meal on the go. Royal Grill Halal. Some of my favorite street food in all of New York City. You can't go wrong here. Thank you, man. Much appreciated. True New York lunch right here. If you can find a better value in New York for this much food for $9, tough to top. Well, Top of the Rock just happens to be in the epicenter for tourism in New York during the holidays, right across the street from Radio City Music Hall. So this building opened in 1933. It was then called the RCA building, and Top of the Rock didn't open until 2005. $40 for admission, and it's actually the lowest observation deck in New York City. Floors 67, 69, and 70, getting you only 850 feet above the city. But don't let that fool you. They got a lot going on.
Welcome to Top of the Rock.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing Top of the Rock wins on, it has by far the best view of Central Park, any observation deck. Now, before Summit opened, Top of the Rock had the best view of the Empire State Building because you can't see the Empire State Building from the Empire State Building. Now Summit is nicer, but this is still really good. I feel like with the opening of Summit, One Vanderbilt, and the Edge, that Top of the Rock probably suffered the most because a lot of people know the Empire State Building, and then you have the newer ones that are maybe, I don't know, sexier. But this classic Art Deco building, I think this is probably the most underrated observation deck in New York City. We know Santa's favorite observation deck's Top of the Rock. This is a cool view. I can actually see the Times Square Ball from here. And we've got the Empire State Building. We've got One Vanderbilt, Chrysler Building. I can even see the Edge. This is a bird's eye view. This is nice. So the GE building here at 30 Rockefeller Plaza was designed to look like a 1930s ocean liner. And when you think about it, you really look up, like this is the mast of the ship and this is the top deck. Perfectly makes sense. Something unique about Top of the Rock is that because you're only on the 70th floor, you're not above all the other buildings, so the perspective's a little bit different. You know, you don't feel like you're looking down on people. You feel like you're with the buildings, you're part of it. I have to give the tourists visiting New York a lot of credit for their patience because we've seen nothing but lines today, and I know how stressful it is to travel, but everyone has been polite. I am very impressed. I think for my observation deck purists who want a nice building with a nice view, Top of the Rock checks a lot of boxes. So if you just want that outdoor view, you need to consider Top of the Rock highly. All right, we got one more to go, and it's a classic. I feel like when I wake up tomorrow for breakfast, I'm gonna expect there to be a line. So this is the Empire State Building, most famous building in New York City, probably the most famous building in the entire world. Admission, $47, although we got the $83 combo ticket to get to the 102nd and 86th floors. The 102nd floor is 1,250 feet above the city. This building is a classic. Just from the moment you step in, you feel it. If you were a fan of buildings, the Empire State Building, probably gonna be your favorite. So I wonder how many people in line today are here for their 5th observation deck. Just two? Just two? While waiting in line, I've learned there's 6,514 windows at the Empire State Building. Learn something new every day. Most famous building in the world, anybody? After you wait in all the lines here, there's a nice museum to stroll around. This is cool, this is a nice touch. There's a certain nostalgia that comes with visiting the Empire State Building, which you just can't get at any other building. The 80th floor is a sneak peek of what's to come. It has those big binoculars and then beautiful indoor view of Lower Manhattan. So I've never heard this offer before. They said 30-minute wait for the elevators or walk 6 floors up. Now, I lived on the 4th floor of an apartment in Greenwich Village for 10 years. This is not a problem. I think this walk cancels out all the cheap eats and fast food that we've eaten on this channel in the last couple of years. Whew. I see it. Wow. It's taken over 8 hours, but I see the finish line more or less.
She's your biggest fan.
You enjoying New York?
Yeah. We've watched all your stuff before we came here.
Which was your favorite?
The food places one.
Ah, what a perfect way to cap off reaching the destination, meeting a nice young viewer from the UK. And I feel like we walked miles and miles and through rain, snow, ice, desert, staircases to reach this. So this was the tallest building in the world for 40 years until the World Trade Center was built in 1970. This building's got history. The issue with the Empire State Building is because it's so iconic, it's so popular, and most people only get tickets for the 86th floor. So we're trying to jockey for positioning here at night, and it's tricky. I think this is the only observation deck that has outdoor heating. I have a lot of nostalgia for this building. I came here when I was in elementary school in New Jersey, so this is the first observation deck I ever went to. I will say though, I'm not such a big fan of the metal bars here. I prefer the plexiglass or just having like the straight on view, but it's a classic. There's something really peaceful about being at any of these observation decks. You're above the chaos of the city and you can see it a little bit, but you can't hear it. On the clearest of days, you have visibility of 5 US states, 80 miles, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, even Massachusetts. If you listen to a lot of area radio and TV stations, they always say broadcasting from atop the Empire State Building. This is one of the most powerful antennas in the United States. And the top of the Empire State Building changes colors depending on the holidays, depending on world events, USA, or if a sports team wins a championship, all sorts of different reasons. You can see it all through the tri-state region.
Black SUV when I back out, went back on road, take back route. Google Pixel represents. The photo for the song is like what's delivering the emotion for the song. So you gotta feel something when you look at that cover.
We got one more surprise left.